Hello everyone and welcome back. Today let's go over the simplest method that I found to simulate your DPS in order to know what is an upgrade or a downgrade for you, what you should be using your extra tokens on, so that you can best prepare for the next raid coming up. So the first thing is that the easiest way that I found to simulate DPS is by using AskMrRobot.com. Now there are a few ways out there to simulate your DPS. Ask Mr. Robot is just one of them, but the reason why I'm picking this one is because it requires no installation. It works on both PC and mobile, so you could do it wherever you are, and it's very user friendly. It also makes it very easy to look at one item at a time, whether you just got an item from raid night or you used your extra token and got an upgrade. So before we go too much into the simulation, what a simulation is really useful for is to find out how you can be performing, what your playstyle should look like with what your DPS breakdown should be, what abilities you should be using, how many times, and most importantly, how your gear is performing. In a world where every piece of gear can Titan Forge and Warforge up to item level 955, it's not that black and white to just know offhand which piece of gear will perform better. You do need to run some simulations. So here in AskMrRobot.com, it goes based off of your most recent WoW Armory upgrade, which might not be up to date. So if it's not, you can still go in here and change everything before you even run a simulation. So the first thing you should do is scroll down a little bit. You see here you can search for your character both US and EU. So make sure you select the right area and realm, and then type in your character's name here and hit find. Now once your character does load up, you do get to see all of the options here. Before we jump into exactly what is offered in terms of changing the gear, the other things that are offered through this website is a best in slot area, which is very good for overall goals if you are a mythic raider, relic rankings, which is very important now that the Netherlight Crucible is a thing, the best in bags, which is a paid service, but it is very good if you are confused on a new spec, and an upgrade finder. So before you even run a simulation, please make sure to look at the top area. You can select either single target or multi-target, so make sure you know what you're simulating. A fight like Goroth is always going to be single target, while a fight like Harjatan is always going to be multi-target. So make sure you know what you're simulating so that you know what to expect when you fight these bosses. One other important thing to know is that if your talent build is wrong, or if you want to build out your talents to be more AoE oriented and see the impact of that, you can also change your talent points right here before you even run the sim. You can also change your gems and your enchants. Now it is very important to look at your pieces and to look at the gems and enchants, because there really is such a thing as diminishing returns on secondary stats. Now as a general rule of thumb, haste and mastery are both very good for balanced druids. However, there are certain haste breakpoints where it's not good to stack haste beyond a certain amount until you reach another cliff. So 24%, 29%, if you're sitting somewhere in the middle, you can actually choose to drop more haste in order to pick up something like more critical strike, and that will result in a net gain. So it might be a little bit difficult for everyone to keep track of every single breakpoint and diminished returns on as many classes as you might play. So a tool like this is very helpful. So when you do click this item, if you did get a Warforge or a Titan Forge with an extra socket, increased item levels, you can either scroll down the list or type in the name of the gear that you got here at the top. Once you find the gear that did Warforge, go ahead and click the down arrow button here and change the item level accordingly. Also make sure to select socket if you did manage to get a lucky roll and socket on that piece of gear. So once you do save the custom gear that you did receive, you will see an overall ranking pop up again, where you see that your gear is now Warforge, Titan Forge, whatever it may be, and overall if it's a net gain or a net loss in DPS. Another thing to note is that tier sets are very important, so when I click on something like my cloak, the only thing better at this point would be a mythic level tier cloak, and that's because my tier set bonus is very important. So make sure you keep that in mind when selecting upgrades. When you do have that 2 and 4 set bonus, you are going to get a big spike up. Now once you have selected whatever gear you want to simulate, or if you just want to simulate how your build is right now, go ahead and click simulate. In this next screen you will see different options, and in Tomb of Sargeras you have 2 fights to simulate, Goroth being single target and Mistress being multi-target. So go ahead and select which one you want accordingly. You do have one final chance to change your Netherlight Crucible rankings and your talent build, and once you have the exact build that you want, you can go ahead and click simulate. Now this does take a few seconds, so go ahead and click refresh a few times until it does pop up. Now once you are at the end screen, you can see here at the top you have your total potential DPS. Now the room for error here is very low. They calculate about 0.5% of error on your part. So if you play perfectly, you can see numbers like this. However, if you do have some room for error, this is what you should be aiming for. Aim to be as good as the DPS in the simulation can be. Sometimes we just get unlucky with the way that the boss is positioned, what debuffs get handed out on us, so sometimes the cards don't work in our favor, but this is what you should aim for. Now, on this screen, you do see other very important things that you should be looking at. You see your damage breakdown. So for me, Star Surge should be my #1 damage done, followed by Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath. So if I'm not performing in this method, I need to start realizing that I need to prioritize using more Star Surges and prioritize casting more Lunar Strikes and Solar Wraths, since they are going to be the biggest part of my DPS rotation. One other thing I can see here is what buffs I did get. So I do have big DPS cooldowns in the forms of trinkets and talent points, and if I go down to that area, I can also see about how many times I should be using them per fight. Now for me, my big DPS cooldown should be used around 3 times per fight, so if I'm only using it once per fight, I'm losing out on a big chunk of DPS that I could be doing. So overall, this website is very good. It gives you a lot of very good information, allowing you to change one item at a time, taking into account breakpoints and diminishing returns. So please go ahead and use this website. Again, you can use it at home, on your PC, on a laptop, on a mobile device, on your phone, your iPad, whatever it is you have. You can always be running a simulation and wondering what upgrades are going to be better for you. The Antorus gear is also in this simulation, so take a look at that to know what's going to be a big upgrade once that raid comes out. Thank you all for watching, and if you have any additional questions on how to use this website, I know it is a lot of information and it is overwhelming, please go ahead and ask me in the comment section down below. But also, don't be afraid to click anything on this website. None of these changes actually affect your real character, so you won't be breaking anything, you won't be lowering your DPS output. So go ahead and search for your upgrades, know what Mythic Plus dungeons you should be running, and where you should be using your extra rolls and raids. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, good luck out there.